You lost? Publicly humiliate. Welfare lines 2 blocks down!
The room went dead silent. 60 students froze. Chad Wilson, black belt, owner of the dojo, stared down at the small black woman with the mop.
I work here, sir.
Work? Your kind don't work. You beg.
I don't want trouble.
Too weak to fight. Get Lee off my mat. This floor is for warriors.
I just need this job.
Then beg for it publicly on your knees. That's all your kind's ever been good for.
I don't beg.
Nobody moved. Tamika's hands trembled on the mop handle. She lowered her head. He didn't see her knuckles whiten. He didn't see the scar on her forearm. He didn't know what was about to walk through that dojo door and end his entire life as he knew it. Aurora, Colorado. A strip mall off East Mississippi Avenue. Squeezed between a nail salon and a tax office sat Apex Striking Academy, Chad Wilson's pride and joy. His face was on every banner. His name was on every trophy. He'd inherited the place from his father 2 years back and hadn't stopped reminding people since. Inside, the air smelled like rubber mats and energy drinks. Pop music thumped from cheap speakers. $40,000 mirrors lined the walls. And every morning at 6 a.m. before the lights came on, a quiet black woman in a gray janitor's shirt unlocked the side door and started cleaning. Her name was Tamika Turner, 41 years old, 5'5", a slight limp in her right leg. Most students never learned her name. To them, she was the woman with the mop. She lived in a 2-bedroom duplex 12 minutes away. Her rent was $900 a month. She worked 2 jobs, janitor at the dojo on weekdays, front desk at a 24-hour gym on weekends. She tutored neighborhood kids on Sunday afternoons for free. She raised her niece, Aaliyah Brooks, 18 years old. Aaliyah's mother, Tamika's younger sister, had died of a brain aneurysm 3 years ago. Tamika took the girl in the same week. Aaliyah was tall, sharp-eyed, top of her senior class at Rangeview High. She had a partial scholarship to the University of Colorado. She wanted to be a journalist. She filmed everything. What none of the students at Apex knew, what Chad Wilson definitely didn't know, was the story underneath Tamika's gray uniform. 15 years in the United States Marine Corps. Camp Lejeune, Quantico, 3 deployments. Retired gunnery sergeant. Master instructor in the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, MCMAP, the most punishing combative system in the American military. She had personally trained over 4,000 Marines. The limp came from a roadside bomb outside Fallujah. The scar on her forearm came from a knife disarm she taught for 9 years. The last mission she ran was sealed under a federal NDA. The dog tags lived in a cedar box on her dresser. She never talked about any of it. Not at work, not at church, not even with Aaliyah, until the girl was old enough to ask. "Why don't you tell people, Auntie?" Aaliyah asked once, washing dishes. Tamika dried a plate slowly. "Loudest fighters are usually the worst ones, baby. The good ones don't need to advertise." She took the janitor job because the pay was steady and the hours matched Aaliyah's school schedule. That was the only reason. She didn't care that Chad's banners covered every wall. She didn't care that the trophies in the case were participation medals dressed up like championships. She cared that her niece had a home, food, and a future. Chad Wilson, on the other hand, cared about being seen. 34 years old, 6'2", a second-degree black belt from a federation his own father had founded. He'd never served. He'd never competed above regional amateur. He posted shirtless gym selfies 4 times a week with captions like, "Sheepdog Mindset," and "Born to Lead." Female students complained about his private lessons. 2 had quit in the last year. Their complaints were filed away in a manila folder his front desk girl kept hidden in a drawer. He bullied the small ones. He coddled the rich ones. And he saved his loudest cruelty for the woman who mopped his floors, because she never fought back. Until one Tuesday morning in November, Tamika was carrying a fresh bucket of water across the lobby when she noticed something most students walked past every day without seeing: the heavy bag in the corner. The chain was hanging crooked, one link half snapped. a 100-pound bag ready to drop on the next kid who threw a low kick. Chad had walked past it 3 times that morning. So had 2 assistant instructors. Nobody noticed. Tamika set the bucket down, reached up with one hand, and what happened in the next 90 seconds, Aaliyah caught the whole thing on her phone. Tamika reached up with one hand, lifted the 100-pound bag off the broken hook, held it steady against her hip, pulled the snapped chain link free with 2 fingers, threaded a new one from the supply box, and rehung the bag, all in under 90 seconds. She did it like a woman closing a kitchen cabinet. Aaliyah filmed from the locker room doorway, jaw slack. She'd seen her aunt carry groceries with a smile. She'd never seen her lift 100 pounds with one arm and not even breathe hard. Tamika wiped her hands on her pants, picked up the mop. Then Chad walked in. He saw the bag back on the hook. He saw the janitor walking away. He didn't see the chain. He didn't see Aaliyah's phone. Hey, ghetto girl. Tamika stopped. Who said you could touch my equipment? The chain was broken, sir. A student could have... I didn't ask you to think. I asked who told you to touch it. He stepped close, real close. You touch one more thing in my dojo without permission, I'll have you charged for theft. You hear me? Yes, sir. Say it louder, so the back of the room hears. Yes, sir. Chad grinned at the warm-up class trickling in. See? That's the only language that works on them. Shame and volume. Then he shoved her shoulder, hard. Hard enough that Tamika's bad leg buckled and she stumbled sideways into the mirror. Her head hit the glass with a soft thud. A crack spread across the corner. Now you owe me for the mirror, too, he laughed. Add it to your tab. Students laughed with him, not all, but enough. Tamika pushed off the mirror, steadied her leg, walked into the bathroom without a word. Inside, she locked the stall, gripped the sink, closed her eyes, box-breathed the way drill instructors do. 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, hold 4. Her hands were shaking, not from pain, from restraint. That night, Aaliyah sat on her aunt's bed, phone in hand. Auntie, please, just let me post it. Tamika stared at the ceiling. Post what, baby? Everything. The bag, the shove, all of it. By 6 a.m., the video had 12,000 views, and Chad Wilson's name was tagged in every comment. Chad Wilson woke up to 47 missed calls. He didn't answer any of them. He opened TikTok instead. The video had 86,000 views by 7 a.m. The caption read, My aunt is a janitor at this dojo. The owner shoved her into a mirror today. She didn't even raise her voice. The comments were a wall of fire. Drag him! Who is this Chad? Tag the gym! That woman moved like she knew exactly what she was doing. That last one made Chad squint. He watched the clip again. The shove, the mirror, the way the janitor steadied herself. Most people wouldn't catch it. Chad almost didn't. She'd absorbed the impact through her bad leg on purpose. To sell it. To stay quiet. He shook the thought off, slammed his laptop shut. In his office at the dojo, alone, he opened Instagram and started typing. Some people belong on the mat. Some belong with a mop. Know your lane. Hashtag sheepdog life. Hashtag Apex strong. He hit post. Then he smiled. He believed every bad comment was a free ad. He believed the angrier they got, the more students would walk in. He'd been told that on a podcast once. He didn't know the woman in the video had been in 3 war zones. Tuesday afternoon, Tamika clocked in. Her hours had been cut from 32 a week to 12. No notice, no reason. The schedule on the wall just had her name crossed out in red marker. She didn't argue. She mopped what she could. She stayed quiet. Wednesday morning. Chad walked into the lobby holding his wallet open, frowning. $200. Gone. From my desk drawer. He looked straight at Tamika. Empty your bag. Sir, I haven't been near your... Empty the bag. She set her tote on the front counter, unzipped it, pulled out a thermos, a book, Aaliyah's old sweatshirt, house keys, a protein bar. Then a folded bill fell out, $100 bill, then another, right onto the counter. The lobby went still. A mom on the bench gasped. Two kids stopped tying their belts. Tamika stared at the money, then at Chad. Her face didn't move. "I didn't put those there, sir." "Save it." Chad scooped the bills up, waved them in the air. "Caught her red-handed, folks. This is what happens when you hire people without background checks." He fired her on the spot, in front of 14 witnesses. He told her to be back tomorrow to finish her 2-week notice, so it would look clean on paper. That was Chad's mistake. Because Tamika came back the next day, and so did a guest instructor he'd booked 3 months earlier. Her name was Master Patricia Anderson, Federation board member, 61 years old, white hair in a tight bun. She walked in with a clipboard and a calm smile. Chad ran up to greet her. He didn't notice Patricia's eyes lock onto the janitor across the room. He didn't notice the small nod the two women exchanged. Patricia had served at Camp Lejeune from 2008 to 2013. She had been Tamika's commanding officer. She had personally pinned Tamika's master instructor patch on her sleeve in 2011. She said nothing. She watched. She wrote things down. Chad ran his class loud that day. He performed for her. He called Tamika up twice, once to wipe a spill, once to fetch his water bottle. Both times he said something cutting under his breath. "Hustle, ghetto. Some of us work for a living." Patricia kept writing, page after page. At the end of class, Chad walked her to her car. "So, what'd you think?" Patricia smiled thinly. "Mr. Wilson, I think your dojo is exactly what I expected it to be." She drove away. Chad took it as a compliment. He didn't notice she hadn't smiled with her eyes. That night, Chad sat in his office scrolling comments. The video was at 1.4 million views. People were finding his home address. His mother had called twice. His insurance broker had emailed. His ego didn't process fear the way other people's did. It processed it as fuel. He typed a new post. "Open challenge. Saturday, 11 a.m. Any student or family member who thinks they can teach me a lesson, show up. 3 rounds. On camera. Loser walks." He hit post. Then he did something worse. Friday morning, 7:12 a.m., Aaliyah Brooks walked across the Rangeview High parking lot toward her bus stop. A black pickup truck pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. Chad Wilson leaned out. "Hey, TikTok girl." Aaliyah froze. "Saturday, 11. You and me, 3 rounds. Or everyone sees you and your auntie are cowards. I'll let the whole internet vote on which one." "I'm 18. I'm not a fighter." "Then bring your auntie. She seems to like playing tough." He grinned. Then he reached out the window and grabbed her backpack strap, tugged it, hard enough to pull her half a step toward the truck. "Don't disappoint me, sweetheart." He drove off. Aaliyah's phone was in her hand the entire time, recording. She walked into her aunt's kitchen 40 minutes later, shaking. She set the phone on the table, pressed play. Tamika watched the whole video. Once, twice, 3 times. Then she picked up her phone and dialed a number she hadn't called in 2 years. "Sheriff Davis, this is Tamika Turner. I need to ask you a hypothetical. If a grown man on private property issues a fighting challenge to a teenage girl on video, what's the legal exposure?" There was a long pause on the other end. "Tamika, what kind of trouble are you in?" "Not me. Yet." She hung up, walked to her bedroom, pulled a footlocker out from under the bed. The stencil on the lid read, USMC, G.A. Sergeant T. Turner, 0916. She unlocked it. Aaliyah stood in the doorway. Her eyes went wide. "Auntie, is all of that real?" Aaliyah sat on the bedroom floor. Tamika laid the contents of the footlocker out one piece at a time. A folded uniform, 3 deployment patches, a master instructor certificate dated 2011, dog tags, a photograph of 15 Marines in a courtyard, Tamika in the front row, arms crossed. "Auntie, why didn't you ever say?" "Because the work was the work, not the bragging." Tamika sat down on the bed. "Listen close. I'm not letting you fight that man, not tomorrow, not ever. But I am going to answer his challenge, on my terms, on camera, with witnesses." She opened her laptop. pulled up Colorado Mutual Combat statutes, read for 9 minutes, made 3 phone calls. Call 1, Sheriff Hank Davis. I need you there in plain clothes, body cam on. Stand by the door. Call 2, Master Patricia Anderson. I need a Federation officer to co-sign the waiver. Make it official under the rules. Call 3, Greg Brown, her VA attorney. Stay by your phone Saturday. I may need you Monday. She turned to Aaliyah. You film, wide angle, no zoom. Don't edit a single second. Truth doesn't need editing. Saturday morning, 6:13 a.m. Tamika stood outside the dojo, duffel bag over her shoulder. The sun wasn't up yet. The lobby light was already on. Inside, Chad was warming up, alone, smiling at himself in the mirror. By 10:47 a.m., the parking lot was full. Word had spread. 60 students, 20 parents, 3 local TikTokers with ring lights, 2 of Chad's friends in matching Apex hoodies, and 1 quiet woman in the back row with a clipboard, Master Patricia Anderson. Sheriff Hank Davis stood near the door in jeans and a flannel shirt, body cam clipped to his belt, no badge visible, just watching. Aaliyah set her phone on a tripod by the mirror, wide angle, no zoom, just like her aunt said. At 11 o'clock sharp, Chad strutted to the center of the mat. Black gi, red sash, microphone in hand. Last chance, TikTok girl. Where you at? The crowd murmured. Aaliyah stood up from her tripod. I'm here. Tamika stepped between them before Chad could speak again. She wore a faded olive PT shirt, USMC across the chest, gray sweatpants, bare feet, no braid, no makeup. She's 18 years old. She's not fighting anybody. You want to fight, Wilson? You fight me. Same rules. Same 3 rounds. The room went silent. Chad blinked. Then he laughed into the mic. You? The mop lady? Lady, you can barely walk. Sign the waiver, Wilson, or pack up your dojo. Patricia stood up from the back row, walked forward, clipboard out. I'll co-sign as Federation officer. That makes it official under our rules. Both parties consent. Both parties on camera. Standard sparring contact. No weapons, no groin, no back of head. Chad squinted at her. Who the hell are you? Master Patricia Anderson, Federation Board. You booked me last week, Mr. Wilson. Sign the form. He signed it, smug. He thought she was bluffing. Tamika signed below him. Hank Davis signed as witness. Patricia clipped the form to her board, lifted a stopwatch from her pocket. 3 minutes, 3 rounds, 1 minute rest. Begin on my whistle. The crowd pulled out their phones. Aaliyah pressed record. Round 1. The whistle blew. Chad came out swinging. A spinning hook kick. Flashy, telegraphed, the kind of thing that wins YouTube tournaments and loses real fights. Tamika stepped inside. Not back. Inside. Hip to hip with him before his foot finished arcing. She caught his shoulder, dropped her level, swept his planted leg. Chad hit the mat flat on his back. Hard. The crowd gasped. Somebody dropped a water bottle. Tamika didn't pounce. She stepped off, walked to her corner, waited. Chad scrambled up, red-faced. He came again. Jab, jab, cross. Tamika parried each one with the back of her wrist, like brushing flies off a counter. She didn't throw a single punch. She was grading him. By the end of round 1, every Marine in the audience, and there were 3, had figured out what she was doing. The rest of the room hadn't. Patricia blew the whistle. Rest! Round 1 to Tamika by takedown. No strikes thrown. Round 2, Chad changed tactics. He shot a double-leg takedown. Sloppy. Head down. Hips too high. Tamika sprawled. Textbook MCMAP sprawl, hips dropping like a guillotine. She landed on his back, slid one arm under his chin, locked the other across his shoulder. A Darce choke. Tight. Clean. Chad's face went purple in 4 seconds. She held it for exactly 3 more, long enough to let him feel it. Then she released, stood up, stepped away. She leaned down and whispered something only he heard. That was a tap, Wilson. You're out. Walk away. Chad coughed on the mat. Hank Davis took a half step forward. Patricia raised one hand. Continue? Chad nodded, climbed back up. His eyes had changed. Pride had turned to rage. Rage made men stupid. Patricia blew the whistle. Round 3. Chad charged. Wild haymaker. Tamika slipped left. He stumbled past her. And then he did the thing that ended his career. He spun, dropped his elbow, and drove it down across the back of Tamika's head as she turned. A full-force, deliberate strike to the base of the skull. Illegal. On camera. Witnessed by 63 people. The crowd shouted. Hank Davis stepped forward. Patricia raised her whistle. She never had to blow it. Because Tamika was already moving. She'd rolled with the elbow. Let it skim, not land. Her left hand was already coming up underneath. A short corkscrew right to the floating ribs. The kind of punch you don't see on YouTube highlight reels. The kind they teach in Quantico. Chad doubled over with a sound nobody had heard before. Half cough, half scream. Tamika followed with an outside foot sweep. Textbook. Beautiful. Her bad leg planted. Her good leg whipped his ankle out from under him. Chad went down. Sideways. His head bounced once on the mat. He didn't get up. Tamika stood over him, palms open, palms down. The Marine instructor's signal for safe. No further action needed. She didn't raise her arms. She didn't celebrate. She walked to her corner, picked up her water bottle, and unscrewed the cap. The room was silent. You could hear the overhead lights buzz. Patricia walked to the center of the mat, looked down at Chad, looked at Hank, who was already kneeling beside him, checking his pulse. Match called. Round 3. Wilson disqualified for illegal contact. Turner wins on disqualification and stoppage. She turned to the crowd, held up the signed waiver. This was a Federation-sanctioned bout. Both parties consented. Both parties signed. The footage stands as official record. 3 Marines in the back row stood up. One of them began to clap. Slow. The applause spread until it filled the room. Not cheering, not celebrating. Something quieter. Something closer to recognition. Aaliyah was crying behind her phone, still recording. Hank Davis called for medics. Chad was breathing. Conscious. Furious. He tried to sit up and Hank pressed a firm hand to his chest. Stay down, son, you're done. Tamika walked over to Aaliyah, took the phone off the tripod, looked at the screen. Upload it. Wide cut. No music, no edits. Where, Auntie? Everywhere. At 12:04 p.m., Aaliyah hit post. Caption. He said she was too weak to fight, too black to teach. He didn't know she trained Marines for 15 years. Hashtag Justice for Tamika. By 2 p.m., the video had 200,000 views. By 5 p.m., 1.1 million. By 8 p.m., 4.2 million. It hit Twitter, Reddit, Reels, WorldStar. 3 veteran pages reposted it with the caption, "This is what 20 years of muscle memory looks like." By 9 p.m., Tamika was sitting at her kitchen table with Aaliyah, eating leftover spaghetti. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. She picked up. Ms. Turner, this is attorney Garrett Smith. I represent Chad Wilson. My client will be filing assault charges Monday morning. $850,000. Don't leave the state. The line went dead. Tamika set the phone down, looked at her plate. Aaliyah whispered, Auntie, what do we do? Tamika picked up her fork. We eat, then we get to work. Monday morning, 9:14 a.m. Garrett Smith stood on the steps of the Adams County Courthouse in a Navy suit. Cameras everywhere. He raised a thick folder above his head. My client, Chad Wilson, was ambushed in his own dojo. By a woman with classified military training she failed to disclose. By a Federation officer she conspired with. By a sheriff she manipulated into being present. This was not a sparring match. This was a hit job. He paused for the cameras. We are filing for $850,000 in damages, assault, emotional distress, loss of business, and a permanent injunction barring Ms. Turner from any contact sport facility in the state of Colorado. The clip went on every Denver news station by noon. By 3 p.m., Chad released his own video. Neck brace, voice cracking, a tear sliding down one cheek on cue. I'm a small business owner. I trusted my staff. I let a woman into my dojo who lied about who she was. I have nightmares now. I can't sleep. I can't train. Please, if you believe in due process, support my legal fund. He linked a GoFundMe. It hit $50,000 in 6 hours. The narrative flipped fast. Denver Talk Radio called Tamika the Marine Vigilante. A national podcast host who'd never heard of her 2 days ago spent 40 minutes calling her a stolen valor case waiting to happen. Conspiracy pages claimed her record was forged. They said the VA was protecting her. They said her dog tags were eBay props. The VA confirmed her service. But her last deployment file was redacted, sealed under a federal NDA. That single black bar at the bottom of the document became ammunition. What's she hiding? Why won't they release the file? Real Marines don't sue. Real Marines stay quiet. Tamika stayed quiet. That made it worse. Tuesday afternoon, Aaliyah's principal called her into his office. Miss Brooks, we need to talk about the video you posted. There are parents concerned. There's a school board meeting Thursday. There's been talk of suspension. Or, worst case, pulling the recommendation for your scholarship. Aaliyah sat very still. Sir, my aunt was defending herself. That man challenged me first. I'm not arguing with you, Miss Brooks. I'm telling you what the board is saying. She walked out without crying. She cried in her car for 9 minutes. Then she drove home. Wednesday morning, a yellow envelope was taped to Tamika's front door. A 30-day notice. The landlord cited negative attention affecting other tenants. No specifics, just 30 days. Tamika folded the notice, put it in a drawer, made coffee. That night, Greg Brown, her VA attorney, sat at her kitchen table with 2 binders and a yellow legal pad. Tamika, listen to me. They're going to put you on the stand, and Garrett Smith is going to ask you one question over and over in different ways. He's going to ask you to describe the combatives you used, where you learned them, from whom, what program, what deployment. He wants the NDA. He wants the NDA. If you describe your last mission in detail, you violate federal law and you go to prison. If you refuse to answer, the jury hears you stonewalling and assumes you lied about your record. Either way, he wins. Tamika stirred her coffee. Then what do we do, Greg? We settle. Today. Take the loss. Pay him 40 grand. Sign an NDA of our own. Make it go away. No. Tamika. No, Greg. I settle this. Every veteran like me has to swallow the next Chad. Every woman with a real skill set is just somebody hiding something the moment a loud man points a finger. We're not settling. Greg closed his binder slowly. Then I need 14 days to build something he hasn't seen coming. You have them. Friday night, 3:14 a.m. Tamika sat on her bed polishing her dog tags. Her hands trembled for the first time Aaliyah had ever seen. Aaliyah came in, sat next to her, took her hand. Auntie, are you scared? I trained 4,000 Marines, baby. I never once doubted them in a fight. I just doubt me sometimes. Why? Because when I taught them, I knew what they were walking into, and nobody was lying about who they were. Aaliyah squeezed her hand. Then let me film the truth, all of it. From the first shove to the verdict, we tell it straight. We let people decide. Tamika kissed the top of her niece's head. You're gonna be a hell of a journalist, baby girl. The discovery phase moved fast. Greg subpoenaed every piece of evidence in sight. Patricia Anderson submitted her clipboard notes, the signed waiver, the Federation's official ruling, and a sworn statement that she had witnessed Chad Wilson issue an unprovoked public challenge to a teenage girl on camera. She offered to testify in person. Sheriff Hank Davis turned over 41 minutes of body cam footage, audio included. He had captured Chad's pre-fight smirk, the illegal elbow from a clean angle, and Tamika's restraint signal at the end. 3 Marines from Tamika's old battalion flew in on their own dime. 1 from Texas, 1 from North Carolina, 1 from Oregon. They booked their own hotel rooms. They asked for nothing in return. The first Marine, Staff Sergeant Renee Williams, brought her own copy of a 2011 instructor manual. Tamika's name was on the cover as co-author. The second, Sergeant Major Dale Moore, brought a photo of his graduating class. Tamika in front. 41 Marines behind her. Every one of them now a black belt instructor themselves. The third, Captain Ellis Davis, no relation to Hank, flew in with a sealed envelope from the Department of Defense. He wouldn't say what was inside, only that Greg Brown had requested it 11 days earlier through formal channels. Greg locked the envelope in a safe and told no one, not even Tamika. Saturday night, the night before trial, something else happened. Apex Striking Academy was broken into, a back window smashed from the inside. Chad's office filing cabinet found open. One specific drawer cleaned out, the one his front desk girl had kept hidden for 2 years. The drawer with the manila folder, the complaints from the female students, gone. Chad's lawyer was on the morning news by 6 a.m. This is a coordinated attack on my client. Evidence destruction. Witness intimidation. We will be pressing charges against Ms. Turner and her associates the moment court opens. Greg Brown watched the broadcast from his car in the courthouse parking lot. He didn't blink. He didn't sweat. He just sipped his coffee and smiled, very slightly, at the steering wheel. Because the day before yesterday, Sheriff Hank Davis had walked into Apex Striking Academy with a sealed search warrant. He had taken evidentiary custody of one manila folder, logged it into county evidence, photographed every page, sealed the originals. Garrett Smith didn't know that. Chad didn't know that. And the Wednesday before trial, an anonymous tip, placed from a burner phone Hank had registered to a fictional name, had told a certain attorney exactly which drawer to point his client toward. The trap was set. Tamika walked up the courthouse steps Monday morning in a charcoal blazer and her master instructor pin. Aaliyah held her left hand. Greg Brown walked behind her with 2 leather briefcases. She didn't look at the cameras. She didn't speak to the reporters. She just opened the door. Adams County Courtroom 4B. Standing room only. 2 rows of press. A KDVR reporter named Lauren Williams sat in the front, live streaming on a press tablet. Judge Eleanor Moore presided. 63 years old, 28 years on the bench, known for hating theatrics. Garrett Smith opened first. He played a 16-second clip on the courtroom monitor, just the corkscrew punch and the foot sweep. No context, no round 1, no round 2, no illegal elbow. The jury winced. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what military combatives look like when used on a civilian. My client never had a chance. He invited a sparring exhibition. He got an ambush by a woman who concealed her training. He turned to Chad on the stand. Mr. Wilson, tell the jury how you've slept since November 15th. Chad's voice cracked on cue. I haven't, sir. I see your face. I see that punch. I jump at sounds. A tear rolled. 1. Right on schedule. 2 jurors leaned forward. 1 looked down at her hands. Greg Brown stood up slowly. He buttoned his jacket. He didn't open a folder. Mr. Wilson, did you sign a Federation-sanctioned waiver on the morning of November 15th? Yes, but... Yes or no, Mr. Wilson? Yes. Did you on Friday morning, November 13th, drive up to a high school parking lot and challenge an 18-year-old girl to a fight on camera? That was a misunderstanding. Yes or no, Mr. Wilson? Garrett Smith stood. Objection. Argumentative. Judge Moore tilted her head. Overruled. Answer the question. Chad swallowed. Yes. Did you, on the 3rd round of that bout, drive a downward elbow into the back of Ms. Turner's skull? It was reflex. Yes or no? Yes. Greg let the words sit. 3 jurors wrote something down. No further questions for the moment, Your Honor. Then Garrett rose for cross-examination of Tamika. He smiled the way wolves smile. Ms. Turner, to prove your qualifications, please describe the combatives system you used. Specifically, the strikes employed in round 3, where you learned them, from whom, and on which deployment. Greg Brown was already standing. Your Honor, may I approach the bench? Judge Moore waved him forward. Garrett followed. Greg handed up a single sealed envelope, cream-colored, wax seal. Department of Defense letterhead visible through the back. The judge read for 41 seconds. Her eyebrows lifted once. She looked at Garrett. Counselor, 11 days ago, the Department of Defense received a formal petition filed by Master Patricia Anderson, retired Lieutenant Colonel, on Ms. Turner's behalf, requesting a narrow declassification, limited to Ms. Turner's instructor record, nothing operational, nothing about her last deployment. She held up the letter. It was granted 8 days ago. This letter confirms Master Sergeant Tamika Turner served as a primary instructor in the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program from 2008 to 2022. Authored portions of the field manual. Personally certified 4,012 Marines. She looked at Tamika. Ms. Turner, you can answer Mr. Smith's question about your training, within the bounds of this letter, without violating federal law. She turned to Garrett. You cannot ask about her deployments. They remain sealed. Move on. Garrett's face went the color of cold cement. That was the first crack. He pivoted. Then let's discuss the Federation. Master Anderson is a co-conspirator. She trained with your client at Camp Lejeune. She has a personal... Greg interrupted. Your Honor, the defense calls a witness not previously on the list, with permission, under emergency disclosure. Name: Master Sergeant Renee Williams, USMC, retired, currently residing in San Antonio, Texas. She was personally trained by Ms. Turner in 2014. She has direct knowledge of 3 other Federation gyms previously sanctioned by Chad Wilson's father, for the same pattern of behavior we are seeing today. Garrett objected 6 times in 30 seconds. The judge overruled all 6. Renee Williams walked in. 45 years old, crew cut, crisp blue dress. She raised her right hand and was sworn in. She spoke for 9 minutes. She talked about a gym in El Paso, a gym in Tampa, a gym in Sacramento, all 3 formerly affiliated with Chad's father's federation, all 3 with documented complaints from women filed and quietly buried. By the end, the jury wasn't looking at Tamika anymore. They were looking at Chad. Then came the second twist. Garrett, sweating now, swung for one last hit. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence the burglary report from Apex Striking Academy. The night before this trial, my client's office was broken into. A file containing complaints, fabricated complaints, was stolen. We believe Ms. Turner's team is responsible. Greg Brown didn't move. He simply slid a folder across the table to the bailiff. Your Honor, the file Mr. Smith refers to was not stolen. It was taken into evidentiary custody by Sheriff Hank Davis on the Saturday before the alleged break-in, pursuant to a valid search warrant, logged, photographed, sealed. We have the original on hand and would like to enter it into the record, with the court's permission. Judge Moore opened the folder, read the cover page, then the second page, then the third. Her jaw tightened, visibly. She looked up. Counselor Smith, are you telling me you accused the plaintiff of evidence tampering? On the morning news? On the basis of a break-in that was, in fact, a lawful search executed 48 hours earlier? Garrett opened his mouth, closed it. Chad stood up from the defendant's table. That's a lie. That folder was sealed in my drawer. Nobody had a warrant. Mr. Wilson, sit down. This is a setup. She must have used something illegal. There's no way a janitor... Mr. Wilson, sit down. He sat. Judge Moore looked at the jury, then at Tamika. Ms. Turner, do you wish to make a brief statement before closing? Tamika stood. She didn't look at Chad. She didn't look at the cameras. She looked at the back row where 3 Marines were sitting straight as flagpoles, and at Aaliyah, whose phone was on her lap recording quietly. Your Honor, I didn't fight Chad Wilson to win a tournament. I didn't fight him to prove anything. I fought him because 48 hours earlier, he grabbed my 18-year-old niece by her backpack strap in a parking lot and told her she'd fight him on Monday. I gave him 3 rounds to walk away. I gave him 2 warnings. He chose the elbow. I chose to stop it. That's all this was." She sat down. The courtroom held its breath. Judge Moore took 10 minutes in chambers. When she came back, she did not address the jury for a verdict on damages. She addressed Garrett Smith. "Counselor, based on the evidence on record, the signed waiver, the Federation ruling, the body cam footage, the eyewitness testimony, and the documented pattern of harassment by your client, I am dismissing the plaintiff's claims with prejudice. Furthermore, I am granting the defendant's countermotion for directed verdict on the count of harassment of a minor, apologies, of a teenage girl, by a clear preponderance." She turned to Chad. "Mr. Wilson, the Federation will hear from this court within 72 hours regarding your certification. Your insurance carrier has already been notified. You are not, at this time, in criminal custody. That decision is not mine to make today." She struck her gavel. "Court is adjourned." Outside on the courthouse steps, Lauren Williams stuck a microphone out as Tamika walked past. "Ms. Turner, what do you want to say to the people watching at home?" Tamika paused. Just one beat. "I'd say, have you been watching The Quiet Ones?" She walked down the steps. Aaliyah on one side, Greg on the other, Patricia behind them. 3 Marines bringing up the rear. The clip of her line, "Have you been watching The Quiet Ones?" hit 10 million views by midnight. 30 days later, Apex Striking Academy closed its doors. The Federation revoked Chad Wilson's black belt by formal letter. His insurance carrier dropped his policy within 72 hours of the verdict. His landlord terminated the lease for cause. The strip mall sign came down on a cold Tuesday morning in December. A woman from the nail salon next door watched from the sidewalk, sipping coffee, and said only, "Took long enough." Chad pleaded down on the harassment count. No jail time, 2 years probation, 300 hours of community service, permanent loss of his Colorado martial arts instruction license. The state added his name to a public registry maintained by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. Tamika didn't take the building. She didn't want it. She didn't even drive past it. Instead, she sat down with Master Patricia Anderson and Greg Brown at a kitchen table in Aurora and drew up something different. A free, federally recognized self-defense program for survivors. Women, veterans, single mothers, teenagers who'd been bullied, people with disabilities, anyone who walked through the door. They called it Quiet Warriors. Rule 1, printed on the wall in black vinyl letters, "We don't strike to harm, we strike to stop harm." The first class had 11 students. The second had 40. By the end of the month, the wait list was 300 deep. Aaliyah Brooks became the youngest assistant instructor on the roster, 18 years old. Crisp, white instructor shirt. She kept her camera on a tripod in the corner of every class, recording technique breakdowns and survivor stories with their consent. Her TikTok hit 2 million followers by Christmas. Her scholarship to the University of Colorado was upgraded to full ride, plus a stipend, after the journalism department reviewed her trial coverage. Sheriff Hank Davis introduced something he called the Verified Instructor Statute to the Colorado State Legislature. The bill required every combat sport facility in the state to publicly disclose instructor certifications, federation affiliations, any documented complaints filed against staff, and any prior license suspensions. It passed unanimously, House and Senate, both parties, 6 weeks after the verdict. The press nicknamed it Turner's Law. The 3 Marines who had testified, Renee Williams, Dale Moore, and Ellis Davis, relocated to Denver inside the year. Renee took a permanent instructor position at Quiet Warriors. Dale started a parallel program in Colorado Springs. Ellis started a third in Pueblo specifically for veterans with PTSD. One of Renee's students, a woman named Cassandra Brown, left leg amputated above the knee from an IED in Helmand, taught grappling from a wheelchair. Her first viral clip showed her teaching a single mother how to break a wrist grab in 11 seconds. The caption read, "Strength doesn't have a shape." It hit 48 million views. Patricia Anderson, on national television, leaned forward into the camera and said something that ended up printed on 1,000 gym walls. We had it backwards. The strongest person on the mat is the one who knew she could end a fight in 5 seconds and chose to give a man 3 rounds to walk away. That's not weakness. That's the only kind of strength that's ever mattered. The hashtag evolved. Hashtag Justice for Tamika became hashtag Stand Up Quietly. Survivors posted moments they walked away from danger, moments they trained, moments they helped someone else walk away. A woman in Atlanta posted a video of herself dropping a man twice her size in a grocery store parking lot, and then waiting calmly for police. "Quiet warriors taught me this last month," she captioned it. "Thank you, Tamika." The final scene of the year happened on a Tuesday morning in late November. Aurora Dojo, 6 a.m. Frost on the windows. Tamika unlocked the side door, the same way she had every morning for 2 years as a janitor. Only now the sign above the door read, "Quiet Warriors, Aurora." Inside, Aaliyah was already there, wrapping her hands, coffee on the counter. Tamika set down her keys. Outside, a line was forming on the sidewalk. 6 women, 2 men, a teenager with a black eye and her mother, 2 off-duty Aurora police officers, a veteran in a wheelchair, a man holding his daughter's hand. 41 people by the time the sun came up. Tamika walked to the door, turned the deadbolt, pushed it open. She looked at the line, cold air on her face, steam rising from 41 breaths in the dawn. She smiled, soft and steady. "Y'all ready to begin?" 1 year later, Quiet Warriors operates in 12 cities: Aurora, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Denver, Atlanta, Memphis, Detroit, Baltimore, Oakland, Phoenix, Houston, and, as of last month, Brooklyn. Over 6,000 students enrolled, 83 certified instructors, every one of them vetted through the new federal standard Patricia Anderson helped author. Tamika Turner was invited to speak at the Pentagon last spring, a mentorship summit for women in uniform. She wore her dress blues for the first time in 9 years. She spoke for 14 minutes. She did not read from notes. She received a standing ovation that lasted just over 2 minutes. She walked off the stage, found a quiet hallway, and called Aaliyah to ask what her niece wanted for dinner. Aaliyah graduated high school as valedictorian, full ROTC scholarship to the University of Maryland on a Marine Corps contract. Her commissioning ceremony is scheduled for the spring after next. She still films. She still posts. Her documentary short on Quiet Warriors, 16 minutes, no music, no narration, just survivors talking, won a regional Emmy in the student category. Patricia Anderson sits on the new National Combat Sports Oversight Board. She helped draft federal language modeled on Turner's Law. 8 more states have adopted it. 3 more are in committee. Sheriff Hank Davis was re-elected with 71% of the vote, the highest turnout the county had ever recorded. Greg Brown argued an extension of Turner's Law before the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. The ruling came down in February. Unanimous, in favor. Chad Wilson works warehouse logistics in a town 200 miles south of Aurora. He hasn't attended a martial arts event in 14 months. A reporter knocked on his door last week. He declined to comment. The door closed quietly. And Tamika still unlocks the side door at 6 a.m. every weekday. Same hour, same keys, different sign on the wall. She still tutors kids on Sunday afternoons, for free. She still drinks her coffee black. She still walks with a slight limp. She still doesn't tell people what she did in the Marines unless they ask twice. Now, before we close, I want to leave you with 3 things this story taught me. 3 things I want you to carry out of this video and into the rest of your week. 1. The bully you tolerate today is the predator someone else has to fight tomorrow. Silence is not neutrality. Silence is a vote. When you see a Chad Wilson in your office, your gym, your school board, your family group chat, you don't have to throw a punch. You just have to refuse to laugh, refuse to look away, refuse to be the audience that makes the cruelty worth performing. 2. Skill without ego is the rarest weapon on earth. Anybody can be loud. Anybody can post a highlight reel. The people who actually know what they're doing, surgeons, soldiers, master tradesmen, real teachers, they usually don't need to tell you. They just do the work. When somebody whispers, lean in. When somebody mops the floor without complaining, watch them work. The quiet ones almost always know something the loud ones don't. 3. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one holding the mop. Sometimes the toughest person on the bus is the grandmother 3 rows back. Sometimes the most dangerous person in a fight is the smallest one, because she's the only one who knows how to end it without doing harm. Underestimation is not the protagonist's problem. It's the bullies. And it's been the bully's downfall in every single story like this one, for as long as stories have existed. So, here's what I want from you. In the comments below, tell me about one moment you stood up for someone quietly. One moment somebody underestimated you and learned otherwise. One moment you watched a Chad Wilson get walked through a door he wasn't ready for. Tell me. I read them. I will pick 3 and feature them in the next video. Share this story with somebody who's been underestimated. Send it to the quiet coworker, the shy cousin, the kid who never raises her hand. And hit subscribe, because next week we tell the story of the janitor in Atlanta who turned out to be a retired federal judge, and the HOA board that learned the hard way why you should always read your bylaws before you pick a fight. Until then, quiet, strong, ready.
The woman with the mop brought down a black belt. Chad lost everything in 30 days. Tamika, she never raised her voice, not once. What stays with me isn't the takedown. It's the 2 years she unlocked that door at 6 a.m. while a man who couldn't carry her gym bag called her trash. 15 years in the Marines, 4,000 soldiers trained by her hands, and she stayed silent because her knees needed a roof. The loudest man in the room is never the most dangerous one. The most dangerous one is mopping behind him, praying she'll never have to prove it. Let me ask you something. If no one ever knew your strength, would you still carry it with grace? And when you watch someone get talked down to this week, whose silence were you? In the comments, tell me about one time someone underestimated